welcome back. Next episode of Painting the Party with the Quest for the Frozen Flame Party is going up right now. And today we finished with Amka last time. So now we're moving on to Varja, the protector warrior of the group. Fierce mountain of a man who rips the pieces off of the beasts he slays and uses those pieces to, well, slay more beasts. Tall and imposing, with these really cool-looking clawed boots right here, which I'm excited to see how I can make those pop out nicely. Drinking horn in hand, he is our fury-wielding champion of the tundra, who will be coming together to help keep our party safe by killing whatever is in front of it before it can do the same thing to us. So, very excited about him. So, we'll go ahead and get him going. So, it probably will be a bit unsurprising to everyone, but I am going to, again, start with our good old trusty standby. Nice Uthan gray layer. Get this nice bright color going on this model, and also to be able to easily patch any mishaps that happen when we apply some contrast on there, because we've got fur coming up, so we are almost assuredly going to be using some contrast. And since I'm slathering white paint everywhere, I'm going to get my handy dandy painting handle here, so just bring this up right in here. Okie dokie, I think we are all set and ready to go. Alrighty, so let's go ahead and get started. Now what's kind of interesting about this guy, you know what, I don't know why I'm using a detail brush for this. Make it go a lot quicker if I grab a bigger brush. There we go. Get the wedge out. Cover quite a bit more, quite a bit faster. So the thing with this is he's got this really cool broken base thing going on here, which I am interpreting as like he's standing on like shattered ice, right? Well, that's cool, but I can't help but notice that we have something else on the base here. We've got this thing here, which is undeniably a that's a campfire. So it seems as though our hero here has constructed a campfire on the ice. Now, I might perhaps foresee this causing some issue. Perhaps what I just need to do is update my vision here and understand that perhaps this is not cracked ice as I once thought it was. Perhaps this is instead cracked ice over a ground, you know, maybe like, because even though I live in Florida, I have visited other places that get snow. And I remember in a trip up to Maine, all the way up at the tip of the country there, we had this snowfall. My grandmother used to live up there. We have this snowfall, and then it rained afterwards, and then the rain froze on top of the snow. So what we got effectively was this crusting of, it was, how would I describe it? It's like, it looks like it's just snow, but the top of the snow is actually a layer of ice. So when you step on it, instead of the snow like just crunching under your feet, like you step on it, your foot collapses the top layer of ice first, and then it sinks into the snow. Which is bizarre, a bizarre feeling. to see. Of particular interest is if you pick up a piece of this ice, this is a piece of ice that like you took off the ground, right? So it's a flat piece, and you throw it because, you know, I am, as a male, I think I am actually compelled by my genetics to throw things that are different and weird that have been picked up off the ground to see what happens. It actually hits the top of the, if you throw it like a frisbee, it hits the top of the ground, which is, keep in mind, ice-covered snow. It shatters into pieces, which go skittering across the top of what appears to be snow on the ground, but is in fact ice. And it is surreal. It is absolutely surreal. So why am I sharing this story with you guys of me going and being in Maine and seeing snow do weird things? Well, it's to explain this base. So my assumption is going to be that the base here is in fact not an ice shelf over, like, say, a lake or anything like that. I would say that this base is in fact ice that is over ground, which means that this campfire is in fact not about to go eat a hole through the ice shelf and plunge our hero to a watery doom. It is in fact instead just going to melt through the ice enough, and in fact is probably already sunk into the ice enough, where it should be just fine, and it will just warm the surrounding areas. So that is my story, and I'm sticking to it. And I'm going to paint it according to there. So I'm probably going to, what I'm doing when it comes down to the base, I'll probably ink maybe like a brown ink or something down there, and then I'll hit it with like the ice itself with sort of a white or a blue. I might do a textured thing to it. Actually, you know what? I know I've been trying to move away from contrast paints, but I've got a contrast paint that actually might wind up looking pretty good. I'll try it. I'll try it first, and if it winds up working, then I'll do it. But base isn't gonna get painted for a while. I paint that last, so should be pretty good. I think I've got most everything here. Just based with this white paint. There we go. There we go. Yeah, perfect. Ooh, little hair there. Touch up, touch up, touch up. Okay. I think he's probably about good to dry. So I'm going to set him down. And so you don't have to watch paint dry. I'm going to pause the video. Okay. So I took advantage of that drying time to collect some paints and also knock the camera a whole bunch. So angle's going to be a little different. I apologize if it's jarring. So this paint is mostly entirely dry. There's a few wet spots still, but I'm thinking that it's probably going to be okay. It'll dry while we're hitting the rest of it. So what we can do is we can kind of go ahead. Now, as I've said earlier, I'm interested in trying to, I've been painting the heck out of our minis so far with just basically as much contrast paint as I can get away with because it makes my life really easy. But I'm interested in trying to kind of explore some older techniques to be able to get some really nice looking, what would you say? I guess some more variety. You can get more variety with the older techniques because you're having to highlight and shade and base with different colors. It gives you a lot more, I guess, freedom and, I guess, control over exactly what effects you're putting together. And it's entirely up to you to determine whether or not you can actually make that work. So here's to hoping I can. We're going to obviously start with the lower levels of the model first. So skin, shirt, clothing, boots, pants, and then move up to the higher levels. So fur trim, backpack, gear in the hands, etc. So we'll start with the face and see how it comes out. So what I'm going to do is we're going to go with so this very light flesh color. If you look at it, you can see this is actually even brighter than the color I was using for Amka. So I'm going to hit him with this, and we'll go ahead and use, again, this sort of fairly lightweight flesh shade to sort of get the details going, and then I'll probably go back with this. Varja is actually very, very pale, like Viking, Scandinavian. I lived up here my whole life, and the sun I get is very sparse, so he needs all the vitamin D he can get. So we're going to go ahead and go with this even lighter tone than Amka to see what we come up with. So let's go ahead and first check to see if I have to reconstitute this. It's pretty good, actually. Yeah, I can... Ooh, it's pretty thick. It's pretty thick. I have to go mix a little bit here on the palette and see what this comes out as. Yeah, here we go. There we go. A little bit of water. Always a good idea to thin your paints out. All right, so this actually is a pretty cool hairstyle that he's got on here. He's got these braids that kind of come really tight to his head and then kind of form this ponytail behind, which is great because that creates a whole lot of surface area for his forehead, which is pretty cool because you can use that for decorations. So, for example, he's going to have some woad, some Celtic woad on there, that nice blue face paint you might recall if you ever watched Braveheart. They had blue paint all over their faces. It's a pretty cool looking thing to really sell the berserker that he can turn into should some unfortunate woolly mammoth / megafauna come after him. Okay, looks pretty good there. Looks pretty good. Alrighty. So let that dry. Goes like that. And while we're waiting for that to dry, I can start doing, I guess, cloth patterns on here. So he's going to have this sort of, this all just looks like fur, but we're going to take a little bit of creative license, kind of like what we did with Amka over here, and actually mix some colors in there to kind of get some variety in the character design here. So we'll go ahead and do something similar that we did with Amka, where we're going to do that kind of crimson, deep crimson thing on his waistcloth there. And I've got some of this red here. There we go. A bit of water. Thin it out on the palette. A little bit of water. Thin it out on the palette. Trying not to get the dried gunk in it. All right, good enough. Okay, there we go. It's flowing pretty nicely. All right, so let's get the fluff hair off of the end of the brush before I paint something I do not intend to. And again, this is going to look very stark and very bright, but it's not going to end up that way. And the reason why is because, first off, it's not going to be surrounded by white, which is going to really kind of wash everything out, but it's also because it is, we're going to go wash that with our grand and wondrous Devlin mud, which is liquid talent and is going to absolutely make it look spectacular. All right, moving up to his jerkin, kind of got an idea for that. Is a lot of empty space here, so I'm going to try to do a split color pattern. So I'm going to kind of try to do a darker kind of blue to kind of complement the red, and a maybe do a lighter color, like a brown, like a light brown, to kind of balance stuff out. We'll see how it comes out. I might actually go with a more brownish yellow because I don't want it to blend in with the backpack colors. But let's see how we go here. So again, kind of the goal of staying away from contrast paint to kind of just to be different. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to base it this is this Thousand Suns blue that I was considering using for Amka, but I went with the contrast instead. So I'll bring it back, and I'm going to highlight it with this stuff. This stuff is called Fenrisian Gray, but more importantly, it's a bluish gray, so it's really light, very pastel. It'll serve well to bring out the highlights of this. And to tie it all together, I'm going to give this stuff a shot. This is called glaze. It's basically kind of like how ink flows into recesses. Glaze is supposed to kind of just coat everything and stay on top, while still allowing enough underlighting to come through that the model has a nice effect. So very ambitious. We'll see how this works out. I have high hopes, and that maybe I won't put this over here for now. Now this paint is new enough that I don't have to reconstitute the heck out of it, but I'm still going to put some water on it because thin paints are just easier to work with. Glob thick paint on there, and you can just obliterate your details if you're not careful. So I'm going to basically go like straight down and just kind of hit his left side. Actually, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to do it a little bit asymmetrically. That's what I'm going to do. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to just put a cut here. Start from his chest, and I'm just going to kind of draw a line down there. And everything to the right of that line, his left, is going to be blue. And I'm going to do it that way, one, because it doesn't make sense that you'd have a lot of straight lines on a barbarian if you're trying to sell that, but also because I like to give the impression that this was sewn together from animal hides, and the dyed blue stuff, they just didn't quite have enough of it. So they had no choice but to kind of piece this jacket together. Because keep in mind, these people are living out on the frozen tundra. You use what you have, and you don't get to run down to the hobby store or the craft store to pick up more material when you run out. That is just not an option that you have. Once again, I've run into the issue of thinking about his hands, similar to Amka. The question of should he wear gloves? Now, interestingly enough, and this hasn't really been mentioned too strongly here, but Varja is a winter-touched human. He's using the winter-touched background, which effectively means that he and his kin have lived in a cold and frozen environment for so long that he just does not care about the cold. The winter-touched humans actually get bonuses for resisting cold environments, even get a little bit of cold resistance against cold damage if someone were to go and try to hit him with a frost ray or something like that. Or at higher levels, a cone of cold, although if we get hit by that starting off, he's dead no matter what, because that's a lot of damage. But he would actually take less damage from that than anyone else. So I'm thinking I can probably get away with no gloves, and it'll be fine. It won't be too genre breaking. All right, so we'll start with that. It's gonna have to dry, but I can hit the other side, and the other side, I'm thinking, yeah, I'm gonna, that yellow is really, I know what I'm gonna do. So I'm gonna use this brown. This is a light brown. I'd normally use this for a highlight on a darker leather, but I'm not gonna do that. I'm gonna use this as the base, and I'm gonna highlight with this, which is, ironically, the base yellow is what I'm highlighting, and the layer paint is what I'm basing in, but don't worry about that. Don't think about it too much. It's fine. I promise you. I promise you it's fine. Just won't let the paint council know, and they won't be able to take me to task for it. All right, so let's go and try not to mess this line up here. I'm just going to turn this in such a way to try to get this angle as tight as I can. There we go. There we go. Beautiful. So by using these light colors on the main body, I can actually use a darker brown for the fur, kind of have it be a nice border separator so that all the pieces are kind of easily identified. There we go. So get his shoulder here. Just got these bone vambrace things. I'm just going to try to not make a mess while I get the sides of everything here. Looks pretty decent. Pretty decent. Now you'd be looking at this and you'd see that this jacket, this coat here, has a lot of round edges to it. And how the heck am I going to edge highlight a thing that has no edges? And the answers, my good friends, is that you make them up and you kind of bring definition to the model by the areas that you highlight. You don't have to highlight hard. You don't have to put a hard edge on highlight. You can actually do a softer highlight by just kind of blending a lighter color there. But it's a little bit, oh, darn it, underside of his forearm, it got me. Look at that. It's okay, just noticed it. Paint. There we go. Better. Okay. So we're gonna basically have to cheat a bit and kind of in areas like we actually have a fold here that we can highlight. That'll look good. Shoulders, obviously, we're going to highlight, but we can actually bring out the definition of his arm here. Because his arm, you can kind of see some swelling here. We can exaggerate that by rounding the shoulder, putting another here to make the elbow pop out, but also here to kind of accentuate the bicep a bit. Because Varja's a big, strong guy, so it makes sense that it would pop out really nicely. So I think, though, that for the moment, put that up there, because I do believe that his skin is dry at this point, which means that we can use this stuff and just kind of hit him in such a way to just get some definition on him. Get the ear, face, eye sockets, and of course chest. Trying to stay off the forehead as much as possible because that should be light and bright. I am almost assuredly going to have to go back over this and kind of touch things up. But I think for now I'm doing pretty good. It's a little heavy. Let's try to take that up here. But again, I'm gonna go highlight this again with that elf flesh because my goal is to make sure that he is I'd like the party members to be different as possible. They kind of have different backgrounds, even though they're all in the same following. So they should be distinct from each other. That red should be dry, so let's go ahead and get our little pot of magic here. This good old Devlin mud. Incidentally, if anyone can find pots of Devlin mud in existence still, I should probably pay a bounty for them if you guys can get them for me. Because, dear God, they don't make it anymore. All right, so we're just going to pull that definition out there. Just kind of darken this up. I'm going to go a little heavy because I really want to avoid... Yeah, there we go, like that. I really want to avoid kind of having a bright and cheery look. Nothing really bright and cheery about living on the tundra, unless you're Santa Claus. But Santa Claus doesn't have to go hunt down woolly mammoths at level 1 to feed his family. If he did. Actually, if you want an interesting little example of differences between old fairy tales and new ones, go ahead and look up the old Santa Claus. He's pretty badass. All right, so this blue looks pretty dry, so let's go ahead and put some highlight on there. So we got our Fenrisian gray. Come on. Whew. Little thick there. Yeah, I'm just gonna add some water to that and try to knock the fluff off the palette ahead of time. There we go. It's good consistency. All right, so here we go. Here's Varja. He's sitting here with his drinking horn, but we're still going to have shoulder right there. We're going to have chest. He's got a big chest. So we're going to kind of highlight that there a bit. We've got this bunching at the elbow, so we're going to highlight that. He's going to have a pretty impressive bicep. So what we're going to do is we're going to kind of have that there. And then we're going to highlight the tricep too on the back. And that'll kind of create a bit of a cut there so that his definition pops out. Now we're being deliberately very heavy here. And the reason we're being deliberately heavy is two reasons, and I've talked about this before, but if you're painting a mini that's to be viewed on the table, I'm just going to get the bottom here where there we go. You need to be able to see the definition at arm's length because you're going to be putting it on a table and you're going to be sitting away from it, so you want to be able to make sure that that definition pops out. And the other thing to consider is that you're going to want I'm going to be putting a glaze over this, which will cause a little bit of a blending in the colors, which is fine. We want that, but I just have to make sure that the definition stands up enough that we're going to be able to see it. So here's the glaze. Let's see how this works. This is, of course, entirely, this looks super rich. Actually, maybe I can give you sort of a demonstration. So remember the red wash I put down here for Amka. Go like that. We can kind of see that it's pretty clear, but it's smoother. Like you don't see the brush strokes as much. And that's because glaze tends to stick to itself a bit more. It's a bit stickier. The goal being that it holds together, and so it kind of does more of a coating over everything. And we can kind of see, yeah, it's just kind of making the color rich. It's not actually like flowing into the recesses, although it is a little bit. So I'm thinking that's actually pretty decent looking. I'll be pretty happy with that. We'll see how it dries. It's going to be a fairly subtle effect. Although you can use stuff like this. I've actually made my own contrast before the contrast line came out by painting something white, and then I combined glaze and ink of the same color together. So I had a blue glaze and I had a blue ink. Mix them together and you get something that will both float on top a little bit but also hit the recesses. And so it basically did the same thing as a contrast paint does these days, of course with some paint chemistry needed ahead of time. But I think it worked pretty well. All right, so that brown should be dry. So let's go ahead and try this brownish yellow here. Ooh, this thing is it? Oh boy, yeah, it needs a little stirring maybe. Oh no, this stuff down here is pretty good. Golly. Yeah, it's definitely need some water on that. Not too much water now. Yeah, I can make that work. Get the fluff off the brush. All right, so here we go. Let's, again, we're going to go for, we got this fold down here, so we're just going to put a line on top of that. Again, we're going to have his chest, so we're going to want to highlight that there a bit. Come on, focus back in. There we go. Highlight that chest a bit. Maybe a highlight on the edge here where the color had to split. There we go. We got a nice heavy one there. It's sticking out. Shoulder-wise, we're going to go ahead and kind of crown that. We're going to have his bicep right around here. Triceps in the back. That was a little heavier than I wanted, but I think it'll be fine. And again, we've got sort of this little bit of bunching here where the sleeve is sort of bunching up underneath that gauntlet. That looks pretty decent. Let that dry a little bit, and then I'll hit it with, I'll put a warm wash over that to kind of show it coming together. And we can see that the wash on his face has dried pretty nicely, but I'm still going to go back and hit it with another highlighting of the original flesh tone, which is going to be this. And that way we can make sure that he stays nice and visually distinctive. So, get nose, we'll get cheekbones, definitely get forehead, get ears, and I might even want to take this up even higher because it's pretty, oh no, that's actually working okay. That's working okay. Yeah, that's fine. That's fine. You can see there's a bit more work when you're there's a bit more work when you're not using contrast paints. That should be dry by now on the highlights there. So let's go ahead. We're going to go a little heavier than the Reichland Flesh Shade. We're going to use this Flesh Wash here. So we should be able to get a nice brownish combined overtone on this section of the coat while still having the recesses hold up pretty well. So let's see if I'm right or if I have to repaint the model. No, not at all. Looks fine. There we go. Just kind of adding this rich kind of color to it. Perfectly fine. Perfectly fine. All right. Now I'm going to look at that. Maybe I went a little overboard. Yeah, let's not think about that right now. It'll be fine. It'll be fine. All right, looks pretty decent. Let's go to, he's got pants here. What do I want to do for those? You know, he's got so much other stuff going on the top of him. Let's just go ahead and hit it with something simple. Yeah, snakebite leather contrast will be nice. That's just gonna, that'll get some shade down there. It'll be different enough that it's not gonna clash with the heavier browns. And it should just work. Yeah, this is fine. Yeah, so this will be kind of like a lighter kind of buckskin. Snakebite leather is one of those paints that looks horrible when you first put it on, and then as it dries, it just kind of slowly just kind of slowly wins you over. Darn fire. Yeah. Okay. All right, that'll work. As for the fur liner, I'm going to do a dark brown because dark brown will set up nicely across the light colors that we have everywhere else. No pride here. I've got this Gore-Grunta fur. I'm just going to put that on there. And just kind of be grateful. So, yeah, nice, deep, rich. A little wet there, but that's all right. Oh, geez. He has another spot there underneath the... the border on the front part tricked me. Crap, what do I do for that now? Let me think about it. I shall think while I paint. So we've got this sort of shade spot down here. Would look good. I could just hit the whole thing brown just to kind of add some slight depth variation, but also to... It's going to be in shadow. It makes sense for it to be dark. I don't want to draw attention to it. And it's easy. So let me see how it looks. Yeah, it's fine. It's fine. Kind of out of the way. I'm not gonna notice it anyway. That's fine. Oh, he's got a little belt pouch. I didn't even notice that. That's a belt pouch. Oh, come on, focus in. Right. Jesus. Come on, Nick. Right there. He's got a little belt pouch. Not sure what to do about that. A lot of browns around it already. Let me see. Maybe it'll be worth picking it out. Maybe it'll just make the model too busy. Come on, get in there. All right. Let's get his collar. Let's see here. Okay. And trim on the boots. Come on, stay focused. Darn from camera. Death Star Trench Run. Let's see here. There we go. Okay. All right. Pretty decent. Pretty decent. I guess I should highlight that too, but yeah, I could do that. So let's highlight the waistcoat with this red. Come on. There we go. All right. Just get a little bit. That was way too much. Blorp. So much, in fact, I'm just going to clean my brush right now. Okay. So we've got a fold right here. We got a crease right here. Get around that. We're going to have one kind of towards the bottom. Oh god, it looks like a smiley face. We don't want that. We don't want a smiley face. Looks up. My cat's back again trying to get in. No, you cannot. You cannot come in. Okay, there we go. More cummerbundish. There we go. Disaster averted. Beautiful. All right. So you will notice that I'm opening a lot of paints and just pulling a teeny tiny bit of paint out to go do like one little highlight, and then I am like closing it back up again. This is just the reality of things. All right, so we've got this really busy backpack back here. So I'm gonna go and see about, again, we're gonna kind of try to do something a little not so contrasty. I'm thinking that combination should make it look pretty decent. Let's give it a shot. Got a lot of area here. Let's go ahead though. Start with this darker brown and a little water on it. There we go. Alrighty, so we're gonna, he's got these kind of these bottles strapped to it, and he's got an axe, which I'm gonna just paint as a stone axe because not a lot of metallurgy out here on the tundra. And kind of demonstrating, I had a little bit of a spill there of blue paint, but voila, it is painted over, and it does not matter. This axe is actually strapped in. They built a bit of the bag itself, actually. Very, very nice utility bag he's got sewn for him here. But I'm going to paint the axe itself a different color. Stone head, and maybe sort of like a, I don't know, a grayish wood or something. You know, something not brown, because there's so much brown on this bag already. And there's going to be, I'm going to try to, the highlights, I'm going to try to kind of break it up as much as possible, but the less brown I have to worry about. Plus he's got brown on the front. He's got a little knife. Look at that little knife right there. I didn't even notice that was a knife. All right, so I'm gonna, I guess we'll do a stone. We'll do a stone knife. That's fine. As for that bedroll, what do I want to do with that bedroll? I could just hit it brown and then khaki. I'm gonna do khaki on that bedroll. That's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna do khaki on that bedroll. And yes, that is what I'm going to do. I'm going to do khaki on that bedroll. Because, dear God, have I got enough stuff already. Man, bottles. He's got a little knife over here, which I hadn't even noticed. Axe. Pretty sweet stuff. Super excited. All right. So, let's go and khaki. So we'll go grab our handy dandy skeleton horde, which paints bone very well, but also paints khaki very well. And like I said, not swearing off contrast paints. I think contrast paints are fine. Just doing different stuff. Bone. Okay. He's got a handle. That's right back there. I can clearly see needs some paint, but I can't really get a brush there because the handle is in the way. So let's just take him off. Handle goes over here. We had a good run, boys. But it is now time to do the base pinch maneuver. Did I get that? I seem to have gotten it. Oh, it's got a bit of fluff there. Get out of there. Okay. So, got distracted. Distracted by sword. And we're gonna just... Come on, focus in. There we go. So I'm trying something a little different today with the camera. The camera's got this feature called autofocus, where you tap something and it's supposed to follow it, and it kind of works. it's not perfect. It's okay if I'm careful. It's not perfect. While I'm painting bone here, I'm going to go get these bony Van bracelets he's got on here. Man, I just turned this wrong and it just breaks the focus. It just does not know what to do. Yeah, if I'm too quick, if I move it too quickly, It doesn't update what it's looking at in time, and it just loses its mind, and it forgets everything, which is sad, but an unfortunate function of it. I'm not too thrilled with it. I might do something different the next time. All right, but all in all, looking pretty good. I'm going to probably highlight these teeth a bit down here. Yeah, but looks like that thing is still drying back there, so I'm going to put him down, and I'm going to let that bag dry for a bit. I think what I'm going to do now while that's drying is I'm going to go down to his boots, where we've got, again, we have this Gore Grunter fur contrast paint on the thing, so I'm going to have to go ahead and use a different type of brown, or I could do something entirely different. I could do black. I could have it be like a black fur boot kind of thing. That would look different enough. It's like I can only paint brown so many ways. What have I got back here? Got this flesh contrast. It's kind of bright. You can't judge contrasts that well, though. I don't know what it'll look like. And I've got too many bright colors on it already. Oh my god! All right. Maybe I do black. I'll do black. I'm also gonna cheat. It's not cheating. I'm using tools in the toolbox. Honestly, for black, it's definitely not cheating because, I mean, you don't exactly have a lot of shades of black, just like you don't have a lot of shades of white. So, you still got these really cool claws on the front. I'm going to hit that with bone too, so that we can kind of nice see it, make them pop. And I think actually the bone will pop out really nicely against the black anyway. So I'm not going to regret my decision. Let's see. I gotta go ahead and get the inside of his ankle there. Let's see. Probably when the brush passes behind something, even one eye can see it, but the other eye can't, I lose my depth perception, which means you don't always know if that brush is where you want it to be. Kind of had to bob my head back and forth to get some parallax effect so I can tell how far away it is. It's a little awkward. Okay, that's working out. That's working out. So, let that dry. Let's pull my flesh tone out again, hit his hands. Water, mix it up. A little bit too much water, add more paint, mix it up. Just a little bit. There we go. Okay. So, I'm gonna hit those fluffing brush. Hit these hands. Catch these hands. There we go. Looks different enough. I think it'll be fine. What am I going to do about that horn? And he has a backup horn. He has two horns. I guess it makes sense. Whatever horned beast you're getting horns from is going to give you two at least. No, 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 none of that. I could do I could do black, like a black horn, and maybe kind of, you don't see it too well though, because the tips, which it would go to white, are down here and he's gripping it, so it's going to be hard to see. Yeah, I don't know. Oh, you know what? This would work great with... I wonder if this would work on his hair. Let's try it. Let's try that on his hair. Because I haven't painted that. Oh, hit the camera. I haven't painted that yet. Did I not clean this? I totally didn't clean this. Oh my god. I don't think I contaminated that. But I'm not going to risk it. Instead, I'm just going to go whoop. Okay, that's dry now. All right, good. Don't want to drop flesh color into, I mean, would you even notice it? Dropping flesh color pigment into the flesh color thing? I don't know, you might. Don't want to risk it. All right. So let's see how this works on his hair. We've got, oh man, I just don't know. I just do not know how that's going to look. But we are going to find out, you and I. We're going to find out how it looks. That... I'm just not even... I'm just not even gonna... it was... An attempt was made. I just didn't want to use Gore Grunta fur again, and I'm still not going to. Let's just do, just because he's got really dark hair, let's just do flat out this brown. Just do flat out this brown. And we're gonna just ink it. Well, we'll highlight. We're gonna dry brush maybe. Okay, and we're gonna try to get his goatee here. There we go. And cool. God, I have no idea what to do with those horns. I have no idea. I'll have to think about it, I guess. Maybe inspiration will strike. In the meantime, we can hit highlights on the backpack. Which is at the moment just a big old blob of brown. But we can start picking out details like the curves of the bottles. We can pick out the individual diamonds on the quilting. Which I can do because I have a tiny brush. More importantly, a brush with a very fine tip. That's might be a little overtaxed, but we'll find out. Get these little diamonds. Get the edge of the flap. And we're going to move over to knife handle. Pop over to this bottle, which we're going to get a nice broad thing here. Get the cork up top, a little bit of the strapping. We're going to go and hit the straps holding down the bedroll. There we go. I'm just going to kind of... Oh, no, it's pretty good, actually. All right. Already looking better, although I need to take it up even higher because, again, looks good up close. At a distance, you won't see it. That axe, let's do... Let's see, it's going to be a stone axe, so we'll use our basilicum gray highlight here. I could go and try to carve notches into it like I did with Anka's, but I think since it's kind of tucked away on the back here, it's going to be a little hard to see. I'm not going to worry about spending too much time on it. I think if I just do gray, it'll get the feeling across. I can just be particularly heavy-handed with the application. Should be fine. Okay. Haft of the axe. Haft of the axe. I'm guessing like a grayish would work. What have I got? I could do one of these for a base. A little line of... Yeah, that'll work. Oh, actually, I know what I'm going to do. I'm going to do... Where is it? Where is it? It's around here somewhere. Maybe? There it is. Nice light gray, and I can use a Devlin mud to dirty it down if I need to. So let's do exactly that. That looks atrocious. That's okay. There's good paint in there somewhere. I promise. So... Oh, do I see a support? Let's get you off of here. Do I not see a support? I'm sure it looks like a support. Okay. Good there. And I'm just going to kind of same deal on the top here. Get the back end of this. Okay, I'll devil and mud that to kind of make it look a bit more natural. It should be okay. And as for his hair, what I'm going to do is I'm going to use my very careful plutonium enriched brown ink here. To get this hair something nice and distinctive. So here we go. Nice. I like that. Really sets off from the pale skin. And let's get that goatee. Yep. Right like that. Perfect. Now that, nice and distinctive. Goatee might be a little heavy, but I think it's fine. Yeah. It's pretty good. It's going to dry glossy, so I might need to go and do something else to it to kind of cut down the shine, because unless he puts like a double handful of lard in his hair to kind of, you know, have it be extra shiny. All right. As for this bone sword down here, this is important, so I'm going to add another layer of highlight to it. This is just a straight up white, which I'm just going to put a little bit of right there. And, oh my god, hitting cameras and everything. Sorry about that. Don't mean to make you motion sick. All right. Put you back. Put you back. Let's go and switch brushes for a minute. Let's use a dry one, because what I'm going to do is called dry brushing, which is basically you get a little bit of paint on a brush and you wipe most of it off until you can do that and you see your fingerprints. And that means that it is got enough on there to pick up the raised amounts, but not lose, not hit the recesses. So it's kind of like the opposite of, I'm just going to hit the bottoms here to kind of make these teeth pop out. Right, like that. And this way, they kind of have that aura of sharpness about them, that look. Do the same thing on this side. A little bit more, a little bit, wipe it off, wipe it off, wipe it off, test it, test it. Yeah. Perfect. A little bit on the hook here. A sense of sharpness there. Hit the edges. Works out, works out. Yeah, that works. Okay, pretty good indeed. Okay, so we've got eyes. Let's go ahead and try to get them done, and then I can get the eyebrows once I get the eyes done. I just so happen to have a bunch of white paint here on my palette, which will work just nicely. So here we go. Hopefully this doesn't give me so much trouble as Amka did. upside down to get a good angle. Try not to bump the camera for absolutely everything I do today. Okay. Okay. Nice. 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 All right. Just a minute here. Let's check something. Okay. So for an eye color, he's going to have sort of a piercing kind of steely gray. I've got a lot of exotic eye colors. Let's see what I've got that can approximate and not be too invisible. Actually, I think, yeah, this will work. This is pretty dark, but I think that's going to work to our advantage. Not a lot in there, but let me see what I can get out. There we go. More than enough. Obviously more than enough. I'm just doing pupils. I'll put you over here. Get a nice good point. And let's do this. Not bad, not bad. Let's get the other one. We'll flip them around. Get this back on our good side here. Oh my God, effortless. Absolutely freaking effortless. I don't know, man. Sometimes it just works out. All right. Now this hair is dry, but horrendously shiny. What have I got? I think I've got something that can cut that down. That's not sand it. Let's use this and dry brush, and hopefully that'll calm it a little bit. We've got kind of a broad area. No. Let's keep it to the small here. So let's grab a little bit here. Wipe you off. Wipe. Okay. Let's go ahead and give this a shot. Dry brushing is tale as old as time. And it is kind of picking up the details. You can kind of see it here. Well, you can't really. I can see it. In my heart, I know it's working. There we go. Get some of the detail back. Cut down on the shine. Still have a distinctive brown. Okay, cool. Now then, on to eyebrows. Eyebrows, I'm going to use this. base color that we were doing, and I don't think I'm going to need to highlight or ink or anything like that because it's going to be a thin enough line that you're not going to really notice it. So let's see. Why am I having trouble with that eyebrow? Okay. A little bit overkill here. Let's go and touch him up a bit. And I can clean up around the goatee while I'm at it. Go. And goatee land, let's just define his lips a bit better, which at the moment I've obliterated at the bottom of his face, but you'll see it better pop out when I re-ink it with that stuff. All right. That should dry pretty darn quickly. So I'm just gonna pop this open right here, grab some of this, pull this up, and way too much. Just kind of whoop. There you go, better. All right. Let that dry. Should get the detail back. Now let's talk blue. His woad is gonna be, let's do actually contrast for that, and not because I'm trying to pick out detail, but because it will let stuff show enough. And what I'm going to do, let's see if I can get away with sort of like a multi-layer blending here. So I'm going to take some of this, and normally you apply this right out of the pot, but I'm going to put it on the palette. And there's already fluff in it. All right, cool. Put it on the palette. Then I'm going to get water and put it here. I'm going to get more water and put it here. I'm going to get more water and put it here. And what I've done is I've basically made myself a little palette of different concentrations of the stuff. So I'm going to take probably this one, and let's just hit his forehead here and see what happens. Nice. So he's got a headband now. But then I'm going to go down to this one. We're going to hit the next layer. Maybe we'll go to this one. Drop. Really, water? Okay. And bring it down. we go. And I want to kind of get his eyes in this too, so we'll just kind of hit the edges here. And a little bit onto the nose. I don't want to obliterate the eyes. I'm going to kind of paint around them. There we go. And now he looks a bit more like... Yeah, that came out pretty decent. Came out pretty decent. Okay, pretty happy with that. Alright, this dang horn. I didn't want to do more bone, but I don't think there's any way around it. So I'm just going to say the heck with it and do that just to go ahead and get it done. And while I have this out, I can also get those bones on his feet for his claws. So there is that as well. So we're just going to go ahead and get ourselves a bone horn here. And the model kind of has it with some like rivets and stuff in it, and it doesn't make a lot of sense, so I'm just not going to do that. Not for this setting, it doesn't. And I'm going to get his backup horn right here. There we go. Let's get these claws. I see that my autofocus has decided to focus on my finger. Claws, claw-toed boots. Pretty sweet looking. Not bad, not bad. All right, coming together pretty nicely. Coming together pretty nicely. I do see that he needs some shading on those hands. I think I forgot to do that when I put that on there. Grab a little bit of this. Zoop, 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 zoop. And zoop, 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 zoop. Very good, very good. It's coming together pretty well. All right, now for the base. So we'll start with the ice, and as I suggested, ice over ground. Interestingly enough, I think this contrast would do a good job. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to touch up, because I am using contrast here. So good old Uthan Gray comes out again. Our glorious touch-up color. And we're just going to kind of clean up down here, a little bit there. Come over here, a little bit there. Clean that, clean that, clean that. Clean, 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 clean. Okay. Something tells me I'd better let these claws dry before I hit contrast there, because then I have wet on wet. And that's not good. That is just going to cause a mess. So I'm not going to do it. Anything else I can do in the meantime? Well, I have a fire to plan. I do indeed have a fire to plan, which I can do with that. Maybe that, we'll see. I guess I could paint the logs of the fire. And it's not going to matter if I hit the fire too much here because I can just paint over it. Because we're not doing contrast paints for the fire because fire doesn't work like that. Fire is not dark in the recesses and bright on the outsides. Fire changes color based on its temperature, not where your light hits it, because it is generating light. It is it is a source of light. Okay, pretty good, pretty good. Looks like those claws are just about dry. So the grand experiment happens. Let's see how this works. Kind of using a lot of broad stuff here, so let's get a wedge brush. So this should shade the recesses, this gray color, which should, if I have thought correctly here, should sort of imply ground under the ice, while leaving the top mostly white and a little bit of gray there, which is, it's okay to get a little bit there, but I'd like to keep it as white as possible. Drop the model. Yeah, there we go. Looks pretty good. Get some nice definition there. A little bit in here, could use a bit more. Okay. Yeah, it's pretty good. That was a pretty good. And what I can do to sell that even more is I'll use a dark gray for the base edge color, and that should make it work better. All right. All right, time for fire. So we're gonna go with a reds for the recesses, build it up to an orange, build up to a yellow, but I need to do that as it's rising. So recesses and lower sections are going to have red. So let's get to work here. Should be okay. Oh my god. Might need to reconstitute. Is this... Wow, this is like really... That's okay. We can fix it. We can rebuild. Let me see, here's my trusty flow medium here. You can thin... The reason why I'm using this stuff isn't because it's... well, it is because it's special, actually. That's because acrylic paint is... Oh my god, it's so dried out. it's because you can use water on acrylic paint, but it's not ideal for thinning. So if you're gonna do something like reconstitute literally an entire pot, it's better to just buy a bottle of the actual medium that they use to suspend the pigment in there and not just water. Come on, get in there. And not just water, because it holds the pigment better and it makes sure it doesn't clump. And that's why we use Flow Extender, or what is this called? This is called Flow Aid, instead of using water when reconstituting a paint pot. Which isn't to say you couldn't use water to reconstitute a paint pot. I've certainly done it before. It's just that your paint tends to get pretty grumpy if you do that. Man, this is going to be so dang choppy. This is brutal. This is absolutely brutal. I should... if I didn't need good coverage out of this, I would not even use it. But I think I can get a good... I should be able to get a good last use out of this before it just completely... Normally you count drops, by the way, and I'm just spraying it in here because that is the level of damage that we're trying to repair here. Okay, all right, that's looking pretty decent. That's looking pretty decent. Yeah, I'll try it. See, you thought this was just a painting video, but no, 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 no. There's so much more. All right, so, oof, I'm stiff. Okay, back to the campfire. Just grab some red. I would thin this out normally, but I do not think I need to thin this out at all. So I'm just going to be, even the areas I know I'm not going to make red, I'm just going to go put red on them anyway, because I can always paint over them. Alrighty. So if any of you remember my Floblin video from our Curse of the Crimson Throne show, which was trying to basically a fire goblin with fire for hair and fire in his hands. We got to paint some fire there, and basically the same principle applies. You want to, in order to have fire look halfway decent, you need to paint it, you know, as people understand fire to look, which is to say the bright yellow, when yellow flames are actually at the outside because they're cooler, and the oranges and the deeper reds are in the interior. You don't really get blue flame out of wood so much. It's just not that hot. But you can kind of get that black, kind of almost invisible core from a candle flame. But you don't usually see that on a campfire. There's too many sources of fire, so you don't usually see that. So you can just do a red, orange, yellow kind of thing, and it'll work out. It'll be okay. This actually ground effect I got going on here is pretty nice. I like that. Might want to touch up the tops. I think I'm going to do that. Take a little bit of white, touch up the tops a bit. I don't even think I have to flock this, so pretty happy with that. All right. Close that. That's still drying. That's still drying. So I'm going to pause the video while it dries. All right, it should be pretty dry by now. So I'm going to go ahead and move on to the next layer, which is going to involve this orange. See if this is significantly better. Look at that. Look at that. It's liquid. It's liquid paint. It's amazing. All right, so let's get to work on this guy. So we are going to go ahead and hit the upper areas of the flame as it's lower to the ground. And then what we're going to do is we're going to, leaving the red in the recesses there. And then what we're going to do is we're going to start hitting the recesses, actually like almost all of it, on the higher parts of the flame. Because the further away we get from the source of combustion, the cooler the flame gets. So the outside of the flames that are low down are going to be cool, but also the inside of the flames higher up are also going to be cool. So, oh my god. Crap. What? Brush. Erase. Okay. Whew. That was almost bad. Alright. Quick thinking and a wet brush can dilute that paint. Oh, let's see my camera focus. Got a little distracted there. Where was I? Right, fire. Heat and fire. Yeah, so the recesses are going to be cooler, and because they're cooler, they're going to be a different color when they're higher up, away from the source of burning, which is, in this case, the wood from the campfire. Yeah, right like that. There we go, looking pretty good. The ice is drying up nicely, too, so I think what I'm going to do is, while I wait for that fire to dry, an amusing concept to talk about, I'm gonna touch up the ice a bit. Just a little bit of white. I don't need to make it like pristine or perfect per se on this, but what I can do is just kind of get the edges, which is going to be good because it's going to help it stand out. Like that. We can just kind of go around the edges, and this doesn't have to be perfect or clean. We're not talking gems here. This is ice, naturally occurring ice, which is going to be dirty anyway. And moreover, this is ice that we have actively trod on top of and built a fire on. So it is not going to be perfect by any means, and it is perfectly okay. That was a little intense. Let's try to bleed that off a bit. Yeah, there we go. Yeah, that's better. There we go. Perfect. Just a little bit here. Nice. Okay. Perfect. And that orange looks dry, so we're going to go ahead and move on to yellow. And this yellow has no tab on it, so I'm going to have to open it with my fingernails. Oh, there we go. Made a little bit of a mess. It's okay. The mess did not get on anything important. This is a really nice yellow. It's very vibrant. It's the perfect thing for finishing off our campfire. Alright, so same deal that we were talking about with the campfire. So the very tips of the lower end are going to get the yellow treatment. And then as we move up, we're going to hit progressively more and more of it. So a little bit on the bottom, a little bit, more, whole thing. And that's the kind of the way that's gonna go. Grab a bit more paint, the back end here. See, it's focusing on the paint and not the mini. Thank you so much. That's a little intense. Let's just kind of bring it down a bit. There we go. And there we go. There we go. Cool. So enough of the orange is showing through. And what we can do is we're just going to wipe some off here. Just test my fingerprints here. Because the fire is going to be casting light. So what we can do is we can just add a little hint of firelight to his lower section there, a little bit here, a little bit on the underside. And the reason is because this fire is casting light up. So we want to paint that light, and it's going to be this yellow firelight. So the underside is actually going to get this highlight, and a little bit on the sword right there too, because the light from the fire is going to shine up. So you can almost kind of see this story here, right? Because no one stands that close to a fire. But Varja was probably sitting next to the fire, heard a noise, was drinking out of his horn, quickly picked up his sword, stood up, investigating where the noise came from. And I am actually very, very happy with that effect. That came out really nicely. Object source lighting has been kind of hit or miss for me over the years that I've tried it. And which is what this technique is called. It's called object source lighting, where you paint light being cast from another source on the model. And I'm pretty happy with that. I think all that's left to do to get Varja looking perfect is just to finish up that base, which we're going to use this dark gray for here. And I'm going to just grab this wedge brush. Perfect. Put that back there for now. Pick this up. And let's go to town. The purpose of this is just to kind of help really kind of make that ice pop out. Beautiful. Okay. Put it up. It should dry pretty soon. And here is we got ourselves a hero. Very excited about it. Great. Well, thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed, and stay tuned because we've got 3 more members of the party that we're going to have to go ahead and paint. Have a great night.